Hi guys, how you doing? So I know it's been a little while since I last posted a video, but bear with me because hopefully you'll enjoy this one. So just for you, I went and walked all the way around Bologna today, albeit not absolutely everywhere because Bologna has a lot to see and a lot to do, and I think it would have been an injustice, to be honest, to the city to have one video including everything. There's so much history, so much culture to soak up coming to Bologna. It's really worth coming to visit on a holiday and not just to visit for 1 or 2 days because you're in the region or visiting Florence or Venice. Anyway, I'm going to give you a video commentary of the tour I did through Bologna today, so I hope you enjoy. Right then, so I started my journey walking through Porta San Vitale, which is one of 10 ancient gateways that surrounded the historic centre of Bologna. It's not the most impressive one, but I walked there quite a lot. Examples of some of the porticos and some of the earthy colours you'll find in the buildings in Bologna. Pizzeria Spacca Napoli is great. Does really good pizzas. I'll definitely recommend it if you come. This is a Pinacoteca Nazionale, which houses sort of regional masterpieces, including stuff by Raphael and Giotto. This is Via Zamboni, which is basically the heart of the university district, and you'll see lots of graffiti, lots of posters, all sorts of people walking around, very liberal. You'll often see very interesting things, especially at night time here in Piazza Verdi, and interesting smells. On the left-hand side, you have the National Theatre, which will house ballet and opera and that sort of thing. This is one of my preferred Irish bars where I'll go to watch the football or have conversation evenings. Now this goes into the Jewish ghetto, which today is sort of a gentrified, well sought after neighborhood, but it was created back in sort of the middle of the 16th century when the Pope was very scared of the Jews, having been originally welcomed into a cosmopolitan leftist Bologna. Now the only thing to acknowledge them is this plaque here, which basically acknowledges the Holocaust. They were expelled from the city in the end of the 16th century. So this is the road of hell, and it really was like that back in the day, where only doctors were allowed in and out at night time, with all of the Jews having to stay where they were. So these are the two towers, the Due Torri, and they're sort of the symbol of the city. The smaller one is called the Garisenda, and the taller one, the Asinelli. In the sort of the Middle Ages and the medieval times, when Bologna flourished, there were around 180 of these, which symbolized wealth and power. They're also leaning. There's not just the Leaning Tower of Pisa, there are lots of other towers that lean just like that. So if you're feeling brave, you can climb to the top for €3, going up staircases just like that. Not pleasant. I'm not going up again, but I got that nice photo at least. This is Piazza Santo Stefano, and we're about to go into the church, the Chiesa di Santo Stefano, which is a church built of 7 churches. And the oldest part of it dates from around 350 AD, but it's had bits added over the centuries. And Dante himself used to come here during the 13th century to meditate, which is pretty cool. So then yeah, it's got a nice courtyard and it's a nice place to be basically. But next time I go, I really need to leave a donation because I haven't done that yet and I've been there quite a few times. So coming out, there's a tiny little back street, which I can understand you driving the wrong way down, like my dad did in Florence, and had to pay a fine. Anyway, here's some example of some of the old porticos in the city centre. And the towers again, you can see how they're leaning. Everywhere there are food stores, beautiful pasta stores, and in the warren of back streets you can find all sorts of food stores. One of my favourite ones is the one here, which is called Gilberto, which is a chocolatier and a confectioner. And my favourite thing that they do is little chocolate tortellini, because tortellini originates from Bologna, as does so much other food that we class as Italian. Underneath it, they've got this enoteca or wine cellar, where you can find wines from throughout Italy and in the region itself, from Emilia-Romagna. Around here as well, you've got fishmongers, you've got butchers, you've got all sorts of places selling local produce from Emilia-Romagna. Like I said, they really pride themselves on having such good gastronomy within their region. They've got lots of stores which date back from sort of the 19th century. Now this beautiful little church is called the Chiesa Santa Maria della Vita, and you wouldn't really know it was there. It's just tucked away in the back streets. At the back of the church, you have this piece of art which is made of terracotta from the middle of the 15th century, and it's called the Compianto su Cristo Morto, so the mourning of Christ. And the anguish in some of these people's faces is really quite terrifying and difficult to look at, but beautiful piece of art nonetheless. So yeah, here we are. We're in Piazza Maggiore now, which is the main square of the city. Unfortunately, it's in scaffolding at the minute. This is Palazzo Rienzo, which didn't have scaffolding on when I arrived. But going all the way around, we then see La Basilica di San Petronio, which is the patron saint of the city. This is the main church of the city itself. Underneath Palazzo Rienzo, you have these walls, the whispering walls. You go in one corner, and your friend goes in the opposite corner, just like that. You talk to the wall, and you'll be able to hear each other. It's crazy. back out into Piazza Maggiore, this is the main church, San Petronio, which is the patron saint of the city. And the red section you see here I've highlighted is basically what the church is. Originally, it was going to be the whole thing, but when Bologna was still part of the Papal States, the Pope didn't like the fact that it was going to overshadow St. Peter's Church in Rome. So they cut the funding for it, which is why the top of the church is still pretty ugly. You have some of the designer shops going down here, down the side of the church. So this is the Palazzo dell'Archigianato, which is basically the old seat of Europe's most ancient university, Bologna University, of course. This is the Sala Anatomica, which is where some of Europe's first dissections took place, right on that table. And it was a teaching room. It's designed as an amphitheater. So basically a theatre of learning, of knowledge, of medicine, and you have some of the most ancient scholars of the university going around the room. This bloke, for example, has a nose in his hand because he supposedly pioneered plastic surgery back in Bologna. So going back to Piazza Maggiore, this is the Palazzo Comunale, and if we go in it, it's got some more beautiful Bolognese artwork. But it's also got really interesting staircases because the king used to want to go up here on his horse, which is why they have these strange ramps. If you go to the top, you get to this interesting room with beautiful paintings around the sides. And yeah, this is a declaration of Italy's independence. You also get a good view of the Piazza Maggiore from the top with beautiful scaffolding on either side. But it's a good place to people watch. Bologna is one of the best cities I've been to for people watching. You have all sorts of people walking around. So yeah, those things are more easy to use coming down than up. This is a Palazzo Nettuno, which is just outside the Palazzo Comunale. Turn left. You can see, for obvious reasons, why it's Neptune's square, and you've got interesting ladies there. This used to be used for measuring things in the marketplace. It's measured to specific sizes so people knew what cuts they would have. That's the Sala Borsa, which is now a library, but it used to be obviously the stock exchange. And you have some of the people that died in the resistance for Italy that fought in World War II. That is Via dell'Indipendenza, which is the biggest sort of shopping street in the city. And down here you have vinum, which means wine, and this is basically used to be a wine store, and then you have a fresco for wine above it, and they sort of each used to represent which sort of shop it was. This going down Via dell'Indipendenza is another huge church, a cathedral that you wouldn't think was there, which is Cattedrale San Pietro, which I prefer because it's more magnificent on the inside than the main one. It also has another similar terracotta model to the one that we saw earlier. Now, this is a surprise. If you push this one open, you see a secret canal. So Bologna has hidden its channels underneath the city, but there are a couple of places where the canals run open and you can go and see them. That's interesting because you don't usually see that. It's one of the only cities I've been to that doesn't really have a major river running through it. So there's a really big market right on the edge of the historic city centre, and it sells pretty much anything you can think of, from bags to clothes to sunglasses to gardening appliances to pliers, anything really. They might even sell cats and dogs for all I know. There's a big statue here, which is for the resistance movement, because Bologna was a stronghold of the resistance, being a leftist city during World War II, and today still. So we're finishing today here in the Giardini Margherita, which is quite close to me. It's just outside the city centre, but it's a beautiful place to go and relax, and to go with your mates, play football, juggle, do whatever you want to do, just relax in the sunshine. So I hope you enjoyed the tour of Bologna, and that it was worth the wait. It's honestly a really cool city, so I'm going to stay here now for the rest of the afternoon, just doing nothing, to be honest. I hope you're having a good day, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, and I will catch you next time in the next video. I'll try not to make it too big a gap between now and then, but we'll see what happens. Alright guys, see you later.